All right, MYB community, we are back for episode number 264 of the Minding Your Business podcast, entrepreneurship, real estate trending news. Even at episode 264, there's still no business like minding your own. Listen, I appreciate you guys really rocking with me all this time. Some of you have been with me since August of 2017, and you remember how I bumbled through my very first episode. So if you go back and listen to that, don't. No, I kid. Definitely check out all the podcast episodes. But I really do appreciate you, MYB community, for rocking with me through everything. Name changes, different changes in guests, different formatting. You guys have been really tremendous. And I really love the feedback that you give, good, bad, and ugly. It helps me continue to get better. Continue to support the podcast, 5-star, wherever you get your pods. That helps me continue to grow the MYB community and reach and touch more people. And of course, you can always check me out at champronbrooks.com. Don't forget about me on Clubhouse at champron. I've had several of you that have been able to migrate with me over there and have some really good conversations there. We've got some really great rooms there for those that are in real estate. And if you're not in real estate, we got some great rooms. Check me out on Thursday if you happen to be on Clubhouse at 11 a.m. Central. I've got Nikki Lynn, who is a relationship and love expert. She's going to be talking about dating while operating your business. Now, y'all know I'm out that game, so don't come for me. But y'all come and check out Nikki, and she's going to talk about again that how you manage that and how you go through that dating for those of you that are dating currently, how you do that and also manage your business, whether it's in real estate or whatever that is. So come unite with us there on Clubhouse again this Thursday at 11 a.m. Central. Listen, I'm excited about today's guest that's joining us today. She says it's her first podcast, but I don't know, MYB. She talks so good. She's already talking about they need to do their podcast. I'm like, yeah, and she's got great, tremendous ideas. And, so this is someone that definitely is taking action. And her husband, Jeff, is not with us. He's here in spirit. So we definitely want to shout him out. But Ty Dickerson joins us here from Houston, Texas, and her and her husband Jeff are the co-founders of SmartE Boxes. And listen, I'm really excited about this. This is going to be a tremendous dialogue. And so, Ty, thank you so much for taking time out of what I'm sure is normally a busy day to spend some time here with us.
Well, I want to say thank you so much, Ron, for taking the time to have us and hosting this amazing podcast. It's definitely something very necessary for our community. And I know that many people have learned so much. So thank you so much for having us and having this platform.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you so much for those kind words, Ty. Those mean a lot, and that's really what we try to do here. And so let's dig into it. Let's learn a little bit about you all, because for those that are listening, and being in Houston, Texas, and being parents and everything that you all are managing, having been in corporate America and that sort of thing. But kind of tell us for you and you can speak for for Jeff
Yes.
if you like, but tell us about you all's background and kind of how you got to where you are today.
Understood. Thank you so much. So Jeff and I are parents of two. We have a boy and a girl, Vincent and Asia, and we have been corporate climbers. We've been in, within the Fortune 500 companies. We've been in entrepreneurship, honestly, very, very young, even up to now. And this is one of our ventures, SmartE Boxes, to really help the community, to really bridge a gap in the education system and what's going on. So what really prompted this is we've realized that this is a gap. We've always been interested in trying to figure out how to bridge the gap in our communities. We are always engaged with our families, teaching and really developing everyone, right? So we saw the pandemic as a very disruptive event changing really all of our lives globally. And what we saw is that it was really a eye-awakening moment for parents, that they have to now really teach their children to think and act independently. We've been in a system where we've been very, very comfortable, and the pandemic really opens your eyes to, if something like this happens, can I operate independently? Can we, if I lose my job, will we be able to survive? So it's really a mindset. And so that's what we started SmartE Boxes, because what we saw is parents were waiting for schools to tell them what they should be teaching their children. And really, we should be teaching them something completely outside of school curriculum. And so, we understand parents are busy. Really, we're all chasing the American dream to have more, to give more to our families. And sometimes, we get away from really taking the time to teach our children those essential skills. So SmartE Boxes is created to give parents that foundation of material content, activities, and games, and financial literacy, and technology, life skills, and identity, because that is very critical to a solid foundation in identity and being able to build from. And so our activities are focused on giving children a growth mindset around money, being part of the innovation that is happening today in technology. Most people don't even realize we're in a fourth industrial revolution of technology. Our world is shifting. Our world is shifting, and it's going to be technology based. Our kids will be competing in a global economy because technology brings the world closer together. We see it as, something that, is a good thing, right? But it does increase competition. So our kids are going to be competing with children from emerging economies. So they need to be prepared to do that. They also need to understand they will be competing against technology. So why be why be a bystander of the technology and just live in it when you could be part of the innovation that happens with it? So we want to give children an early introduction into, blockchain, coding, and Python, AR, VR, really touching, feeling things. We even have an activity where they'll be able to mine cryptocurrency, really giving them a mindset of being able to grow and develop. So that is what SmartE Boxes is about. We are really here to empower parents to really bridge the gap in the education that their children are receiving and that they need to be successful in life.
Ty, one of the good things that I love about podcasting is that this is recorded. You didn't tell me I was going to have to bring a basket so I can catch gems.
I always try to leave something.
Yeah, I got my shirt open. I'm over here as you drop it. You drop it. It's some major gems in that.
Yes,
God, that's rich. I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
Thank you.
So for you all, so God, there's so much to explore, because like I say, you were dropping so much with that when you talk about the advent of the pandemic, right? And
Yes.
You talked about, that introduction early. One of the things that I always see and have come across is, our love in our community for the bodacious, right? For, sports, entertainment, all these, these fields that are, kind of have fairly minute populations. There's only few that are going to be granted, those type of opportunities. I saw that in my own life with pursuit in athletics, specifically in basketball.
Yes.
And you talked about, and I was doing the comparison in my mind as you were talking, Ty, about how I got introduced early to basketball, right? I started playing basketball, like many that are listening, just use as an example, or, if you got into science, whatever it is, you probably got into it fairly early, right? And you found that the more that you're around it, the more you engulf yourself in it, the more you train around it, the more you think about it, the more you envision yourself in it, the better you became and the more you pursued it. And I compare that with what you were saying, Ty, from an education standpoint, with what you and Jeff have built. Is really what you're doing is you're providing early introductions, right, and early platforms for children to get involved in things that, quite frankly, many of us, maybe unfortunately got into maybe later in the game, right?
Yes.
And we all know that the earlier you can get involved in something and get that development and be around the like-minded people and that sort of thing, what it does is it opens up that floodgate for that education and to see yourself in it and to kind of find where your lane would be. And so that's what I love about what you were saying was, unlike some of us and some of these older generations now, you all are providing children with a way to be able to learn and get engulfed in these things early so that they can decide for themselves, hey, this is for me or this is not. But they learn that early before a lot of life, gets ramped up in different things. And some of the joys and ills of life, right, get in. And so the more you can get involved in that early and shape their mindset, I think is really that's incredible. And so, what are some of the activities, Ty, that you guys have put together? What are some of those platforms you mentioned? Several of them with kind of cryptocurrency and kind of different lanes. But what are some of those things that you're really seeing, particularly as the pandemics come on?
So definitely as the pandemics come on. So what we created is the first box we have. We have it's a subscription program, right? So actually every quarter the kids will get a box and it'll contain 3 activities. In the current box, we include the Get Paid board game, which goes over the evolution of money. Yes,
I love that.
It goes over the evolution of money. It gives a foundation. I think many times parents don't know where to begin the financial conversations with their children, and really history, understanding what money is, not just it's something that you use to just spend, but understanding that it's a tool. It's always been used as a tool. And when you understand the ecosystem of money, then you better understand the components of stocks and cryptocurrency and real estate and all of the other things that are built on top of the financial system. And so when you give a child the foundation of what the system is, then it allows them to be innovative on it, right? Most children don't even understand the barter system. They may have learned it in school and it goes through one ear and right out the other, but the barter system was the original money system, the original trade system, and it's still used today. So we found that when you introduce children to the barter system, now they start thinking, well, what can I do to monetize? I have all these toys or all of these things that I have that I've collected that I don't want anymore. Can I sell them? And so, or you have kids that like to create jewelry, or they like to be on social media and teach kids about other things that they know. Or like you said, kids that are in basketball. I have a nephew that is amazing at basketball, and we're trying to encourage him to really do be on social media to teach other kids that are interested in basketball skills and mindset, because he has an amazing mindset. But just taking what you know, what you do, what you're good at, and monetizing it early is the mindset we're trying to create. And people don't really know, how early can my child do this? We say, honestly, your child can start their first business at the age of 5 or 6. Warren Buffett was around selling bubblegum in his neighborhood. I think he was like 6 or 7 years old. And, introducing entrepreneurship early. The thing about learning is that you're going to make mistakes. When it comes to money, you're going to make mistakes early. When it comes to business, you're going to make mistakes early. So why make them when you're an adult, when you can make them as a child? You make a lot of little mistakes, you learn from them. So by the time you're an adult, you kind of find your stride, what kind of works for you, what you like. And that's the mindset that we're trying to create, because that mindset works in the corporate America or in entrepreneurship, because corporate America wants innovators. They want creators. We talk about technology. Technology will do a lot of the, redundant managerial work that, a lot of people do today. I could tell you in my previous position, my role was to train AI technology and machine learning on what I was doing. So that means in the role that I was and everyone underneath, there's going to be AI technology that does that until a certain level. So why put your child in a position where they have to compete against something that is, trainable, and when they can actually be part of the innovation that happens in the system? So, that's the mindset we're trying to create. When I also talk about technology, we're introducing blockchain. That's what we're introducing now. And so we have a class that we're going to roll out in May that goes over the blockchain, introducing it to kids, because many times I find adults don't know the difference between blockchain and cryptocurrency. And that's okay, because people honestly are using it interchangeably, but they don't realize that blockchain is an ecosystem. That so many things can be built on, and it's such in its premature state that children can find ways to build things on, right? So we're going to introduce NFTs to the children so they can actually put something on the blockchain, and maybe they might sell it, maybe they don't, but it gives them the mindset that, wait a minute, I'm able to create something and build from it. But we introduce cryptography to them, which teaches them I'm not sure if you're familiar with cryptography. Yes.
Yes.
But it's essential in technology. And many times you talk about cryptography, most people don't even understand it's in all types of technology, and will be in the future, because it's the way that data is protected, information is secured. And showing kids how cryptography was used in the old way with the Caesar cipher, showing them how that they can make it a fun way, how they can decode messages and encrypt messages, gives them a foundation of understanding the usefulness of the technology. And the final thing that we include is life skill lesson in cooking. Right. So we've gotten so far away from cooking. So Vicky Cakes is actually a Black-owned pancake company. And what we want to introduce to children with our system is a mindset of do for self, not just entrepreneurship, but being able to be independent of other people. Right. Cook for yourself. Not only it's a thing where you're teaching children problem solving, math skills, safety. You're also teaching them to save money, right? To be able to eat healthier. That's one thing. We can eat out. We don't know what we're eating, right? What ingredients. Right. They say it's organic and grass-fed, but do you really know that? Right. We want kids actually love to cook. They actually love it. And so just spending that quality time, and that's what we're really trying to get parents into, is spending the quality time with their children, because we get so busy, right? And then it's like, we just need a break. Let's just, take this iPad or take this new video game and keep busy. But what we want to do is give you a supplement to that, right? Where yes, stay busy, but stay busy in creating something, right? I think most parents don't think that their kid would be interested in creating their own business, but it's just getting them in the mindset to do that. So that's really what our products are about, and the message that we're trying to encourage with parents.
Absolutely, Ty. The pandemic kind of came and hit everybody in the mouth, right? There wasn't a ton of pre-warning, at least to the masses, right?
Yes, agreed.
As to, whether there were others amongst us who knew that this was coming, or maybe even had some hand in some different areas, right? That's another podcast episode. But so I'll talk from a personal standpoint. So for my wife and I, with our 3 daughters, when it hit and everything got closed down, now we found ourselves having our children here. I spent a lot of time last year. I wasn't traveling for business, that sort of thing. But I was still busy and actually did extremely well. But one of the things that I found interesting was, the whole virtual school kind of piece. And now my daughters are I've got them scattered through the house, and we're trying to manage Wi-Fi, and I'm in, tech support with that, trying to make sure that they can stay on. But that was a bit of a struggle kind of overall. Particularly with my middle daughter, probably struggled the most with it. But just not having that interaction. And like you say, you can find yourself getting so busy as parents, even with that you're really just managing, okay, are you on your Zoom? Okay, cool. Let me go back to doing what I do. Right. And then, oh, is that done? Okay. What'd you learn? Blah, blah, blah. And then you go on, and you spoke of something earlier about how we sometimes leverage these platforms to do some of the rearing for us. And that's where it can get dangerous, where social media and video games and all those type of things, you put those in place to somewhat replace you, right? And then you put
Yes.
all this faith into the school and that sort of thing, and put a lot of pressure on them to be responsible for that education piece. And one of the things
Yes.
I loved about what you were sharing, what's within the box, are these are, fairly kind of practical things that you guys have, but they're so impactful to kind of that early development and that early engagement. And then something else you spoke to, Ty, which is kind of the mistakes, right? And that's kind of what I was leading to, for a lot of parents that were like me, that maybe a mistake that was made during the pandemic was, maybe that engagement maybe ceased because your routine was broken, right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
now you find yourself in this rut. And even if you're working from home, whether you're working corporately or from an entrepreneur standpoint, that you found that maybe your workload increased, or you spent a lot of time, which you thought you were in production, but you really
Mhm.
weren't, right? Um, and so at the same time, the clock keeps going, and your kids are still needing that connectivity with you, and they're still needing direction and guidance on, what they should be intaking and what they should be learning. And so I
Yes.
love that how you span from a diversity standpoint. You're supporting Black business. You're ranging everything from technology to life skills to, kind of heritage to, financial literacy. And you've got all these, things kind of diversified within you all's offering that I think is really tremendous. And then you're even doing deep dives into, like you mentioned, with blockchain and kind of crypto photography. Those are things that are really, I mean, many, adults aren't familiar with
Yes.
what those things are and what they really mean, NFTs and that sort of thing. And so when you talk about mistakes, I think one of the things that helps people become proficient, and we see it, we were talking about sports earlier, Ty, but I think you could go across any industry, that
Yes.
even kids who get a chance to go into boardrooms early on, right? They get a chance
Hmm.
to make mistake. Maybe there's a question that's asked that maybe he's not fit, right? So they get coaching on that.
Yes.
Maybe they come in, they don't have quite the right attire, so they get coaching on that. But getting coaching on that at 14 is different than at 32, right? And so
Yes.
I think you make a tremendous point in that if the earlier you get a chance to work through your mistakes, right, and
Hmm.
kind of progress through that and get coaching and development, one, those mistakes aren't so impactful, right?
Yes.
Give the example I just made. Um, when you make that mistake, let's just say, a 14-year-old walks into the boardroom, right? They've been invited to a big meeting where decisions are going to
Hmm.
be made, and they come in dressed like how I'm dressed right now, right? And
Yes.
so now somebody has to coach them on, okay, wait a minute,
The look.
you're,
Yes.
but now think if that same individual walked into the boardroom dressed like me now, and they're 32, they're 35, they're 40, they're
Hmm.
45, right? Now
Hmm.
that coaching and that impact is so much greater, right? Where
Yes.
they could have, if
Yes.
they had learned that and already made that mistake, then they're in position now to be able to teach someone, back down the line. And so the earlier that's learned, the better.
Yes.
So, that's really, just tremendous with what you all are doing.
Yeah, thank you. And I think you bring up some good points in regards to, the pandemic, and it really kind of putting us everyone in a whole different work environment, living environment.
Right.
It brings us closer, but then it's like, we should probably have a little bit of space. And so then we are spacing, each other out, so that way we can have our own space and privacy. And it does, what we found is that actually you work more working at home, right? You get up, you start working, parents are working more hours at
Yes.
home than they were actually doing in the offices. So, there's not too many businesses rushing to go back into the office because they're actually able to get more productivity out
Right.
of parents. But with the same thing, this is one thing that, I really encourage, mothers, because I see it more with mothers, but definitely with parents in general, is, as you have your meetings, as you're doing work, as you're building your business, have your child close by, even if they're not engaging, they're listening, they're learning. Like you say, put them in the boardroom. That's kind of like your boardroom at home. They're kind of listening to the conversations. And
Mhm.
you think your children aren't listening, but they listen to everything, especially from your parents. They try to act like
Yes.
they're ignoring you, but they're listening. Because like we have a 5-year-old, Vincent, that's on the box. Vincent can
Yes.
tell you about different stock tickers. He can tell you he actually has his favorite dividends. He can tell you the tickers for the different cryptocurrencies because he's always listening. You ask him, where do you buy cryptocurrency? He'll tell you the different locations that you can buy because he's just listening. And, we applaud him when he does it. So he's encouraged to listen more. So, I think, with, sometimes as we're building our generational assets to pass on to our children, we should include them in that movement. Really, it's a family affair. Make it a family affair. And, we have these activities just to encourage that engagement in case you just don't know. Because, financial literacy is, money is a part of honestly everything that we're doing in life, right? And we want our children to have a healthy mindset because right now we're at a pivotal point. We're at a very pivotal point in history where when we talk about generational curses, we can really break generational curses because there's a wealth transfer happening. And we can really put our children ahead of that, right? Giving them the tools
Absolutely.
that they need. And so, we're very encouraging of parents to step ahead of it because I think that's what time, especially in the Black community and minority communities, we're kind of like the last to know. And
Right.
we
Yeah.
want our children to be the first to know, right? And so
Yes.
schools have their place. They will teach your children curriculum that's been set out and that's how it is, right? We don't take
Right.
anything from schools because they have their place. But as parents, honestly, our first responsibility is to teach, to build our
Yes.
children. And home, shelter, and clothes is good, but if they don't know how to survive on their own, how to build on their own, how to understand what gifts they have that God gave them and be able to cultivate them, then honestly, we've shortened them. And
Yes.
why do that when we can actually get ahead of that? So this is a very important time, and we want to encourage parents and share that we can knowledge is one of the key aspects to generational wealth. You can give them the assets, you can give them the money, but if they don't understand how to use it, how to make it grow, then to be honest with
Yeah.
you, it won't last just their generation and it won't flip over.
Yeah.
So
And Todd, that is a tremendous point, mainly because you're right. There is going to be this big transfer in assets, right,
yes,
from
yes,
generations. So particularly from baby boomer generation that benefited largely from kind of federal and state and even local government intervention after World War II, right, and a lot of the
yes,
benefits that
yes,
came from that. And so that's going to be create a big transfer as you just have age attrition through that. And what position will our communities be in, particularly Black and brown communities, when wealth continues to transfer it, and how are we passing down that wealth being not just currency in terms of money, but like I say, that wealth
yes,
of knowledge, that wealth of
yes,
knowledge of self. How do we ensure that we all are doing our part in passing that down
yes.
as well, so that um, the opportunities to be able to see and recognize an opportunity and be able to take action on it. I think that's something that really is missing. That I believe that you and Jeff's platform is going to help kind of really facilitate is, and
Thank
many other
you.
platforms as well. That
Yes.
understanding of, like you say, when you get down to it, a lot of things come down to what positive view do you have of yourself? How do you view yourself?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because so many things, I've seen this in people and I've seen this in myself, Ty, just profusely, that um, I don't always walk in the room that I'm the best, right? That I'm the best of
Hmm.
this or the best of that or the smartest
Yes.
or the any of that, right? Sometimes what it comes down to is who has that tenacious focus, who can, despite all the noise going on, who can focus on kind of the task at hand and recognize an opportunity. And I think that's
Yes.
really what knowledge and education does is, personally and professionally. right? Do I
Yes.
recognize opportunities? Do I recognize opportunity in this individual, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
and do I recognize when there's not opportunity, right? And
Yes,
where this isn't
exactly.
going to be a fit. And so,
Exactly.
do you can you recognize that, process it, and then take action, right?
Yes.
And then come back
Yes.
and reassess that action, right?
Yes.
And then make
Yes.
adjustments as you can. I think that's really that bottom line, piece of education and the exposure to these things. It's not the individual thing, and that's why I hope that the audience doesn't take away that. Don't get discouraged by when you hear terms like blockchain and different things, and you
Yes.
think, whoa, 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 that's not my wheelhouse. I don't know
Yes.
anything about that myself.
Yes.
Because what you're trying to do is you want to encourage your youth to be able to research it, recognize it, appreciate it for what it is, and have a knowledge to say, okay, when there's an opportunity, right? Can I see it, and can I process it again? Can I take the action in whichever way I see that going? And like we talked about, that the earlier that you can do that, Ty, I just believe that just helps so many our generations as we go forward. Um,
Yes.
be in much better position, and it'll help avoid some of the mistakes that are kind of chronic,
Yes.
and so long lasting, impactful, and have such a domino effect as we've seen in our community, where we just pass down toxicity and traumas, right?
Yes.
That just build on each other, right?
Yes.
So
Yes. No, and I think you definitely point out something, because I think as a parent myself, sometimes when your children ask you something, you don't necessarily want to say, I don't know.
right,
And then
right,
even when it comes to money, it almost seems like this dirty conversation where you don't really want to have about what we have, what we don't have, what we can do, what we can't do. But I think that we understand that how we've created the content and materials. We understand that parents may not know, so that's why we create the activities in a way where it actually puts them in a position where they are showing their child, they're teaching it to their child, even if they're learning it at the same time. So, I know this, I'm going to show the board game. So the board game
yeah,
is honestly quite simple, but it goes over the barter system to precious metals, introducing promissory notes. Sometimes if you say promissory note to adults, they may not understand. But what we do is
right,
we actually have a 5-minute video that goes over the entire history of money. And we break it down.
wow,
We go to the barter system, precious metals. We explain promissory notes. We explain fiat, right? How paper money was attached to the gold, and then how it was removed, why, and what it exists today. Then we go into digital assets and stocks and such. So, but we make it in a fun way, so parents don't have to feel ashamed or feel like they're in a position where their kid doesn't see them in a good light. We actually want to change that. We want to, amplify them in front of their children, because we are the best teachers to our children. We are their favorite teachers, and they love to learn something from us. So that's why we want to package the material in a way that parents feel empowered when they use our content and materials. So
absolutely, Ty.
yes.
That is just, again, just tremendous. Ty Dickerson joins us here. Her and Jeff, her husband, are the co-founders of SmartE Boxes, and just continuing to build tremendous platforms and lanes for our youth, as you're hearing today. I know people are kind of chomping at the bit right now, Ty, to figure out how they can get their hands on one of them boxes.
Yes,
I
yes,
being
yes,
one of
yes.
them. And so let's go into that, because I'm getting some messages from some folks. How can I get the
No,
box?
that's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. So we offer the box with 3 activities currently, with the Get Paid board game, the cryptography game, and the pancake mix, also with some PPE, hand sanitizer, face mask. It's that time, so we provide it for to encourage safety with our families. But you can grab that box at www.smarteboxes.com. But if you
Yes.
also want to just try out the board game, we're doing a special offer where we're just offering the board game separately. So it gives families an introduction to testing out our content, see how the feel is, how they feel about using the content. And you can actually grab the game at www.getpaidboardgame.com.
I like that.
Yes.
Getpaidboardgame.com.
Get
That's where you can
paid,
go,
get
everybody,
paid.
to get the game,
Yes.
right? And then SmartEBoxes.com for the entire box with the
Yes.
activities, the 3 activities, right?
Yes. That's
Okay,
agreed.
got
Yes.
you. All right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
MYB, you heard the lady. All right. So you know where to go. Those links are in the bio. So make sure that you go in, tap in there. I'm gonna be doing the same, and go ahead and order here for the house, so that I'm gonna order the box. So
Awesome.
you guys do what y'all want to do, but order something, right? Make sure you either get the
Yes.
game and or get the box that includes the game. Um, why don't you just get the box, right? So then you'll have the game and you'll have all the activities there for your child, or for your children, your grandchildren, or any child that you care for,
Yes.
and want to see be a little bit better, right? And um, I do want to say this too, Ty, for those parents that are listening that may have teenagers, and maybe your teen is maybe not going down the best path that you like to see him or her go. This is a great way to engage and kind of endear the family together, right? And so
No, definitely.
look at this as well, that don't just think, oh well, maybe I made some mistakes, but now my child's 15, and and kind of doing their own thing, and they're in the midst of their kind of teenage years. This is still a great opportunity. It's never too late to introduce a platform like this, to your children. Right. And so can you speak to that a little bit, Ty? Because I know, for you now, we've got some younger children, and it may seem
Yes.
easier when they're at that age where they're a little more impressionable and that
Yes.
sort of thing. And like you and I talked offline, with dad having, or mom having the cool factor still
Yes.
that may not
Yes.
exist in those teenage years. But could you speak to
Yes.
that, how this can help kind of endear, parents and maybe, teenage children, or maybe children that, sometimes the relationship could be fractured to various
Yes.
extent?
Yes. No, so definitely. So I can tell you many teenagers, because some of our parents are just buying it for their younger kids, but the teenagers are getting involved in the game too. We'll just play a little bit just to entertain the little ones. But they're more interested in the game. And it's like, how can I start getting money? How can I get some Bitcoin? How can I get stock? It's the mindset. It's like, wait a minute, I can actually have these things. And
Yes.
you can introduce it at any age. Honestly, you can introduce it to adults. It's just the mindset that they can actually achieve these things. They can have them. You deserve them. And that's the kind of mindset that you can introduce at any age, and it's welcome. It's just, we have, like you mentioned, we've kind of been broken and kind of kept in the dark. And a lot of times we just don't know. But when you kind of unleash that thought of, I can actually have these things, the potential is endless. And so, like I said, we have teenagers that now they weren't even thinking about trying to figure out how to monetize themselves, or honestly, maybe get their first job. They don't know what they're really good at, but then maybe let me just figure out how I can get money so that I can actually get stock, so I can get dividends, so I can actually make my money start working for me. And so it's a mindset you can introduce at any age. So I appreciate you pointing that out.
Absolutely. And it gave me another thought, Ty, that I just thought that I
Hmm.
want to get your opinion on, and insight is, and kind of two lanes with this. One, for young children and for even teenagers, is this can kind of help with the guidance towards as you get to the college years. And what I mean by that is, oftentimes we enter college without any real knowledge of what we really want to do, right? We
Hmm.
go because it's going to please people, people are going to smile, people are going to brag, and then we pick up debt, right,
Yes.
oftentimes by going, but we don't transfer that debt into good debt by having an understanding of the direction we want to go. And the earlier you have that direction, so as an example, if you're teaching youth, right, about financial literacy and technology, and having it in a fun, kind of engaging format, to where it's helping to shape their mindset. I think something else, a byproduct of that, is as you're reaching those college years, and even long before that, people have a better understanding of, here's what I want to do, here's what I want to be. Right. And go back to
Yes.
my basketball. Most of us that play, any kind of sports like that, we kind of knew from an early stage that, hey, I want to play in the NBA. Right. I
Mm-hmm.
knew that from 5, 6, and that's what I strive towards until that wasn't a reality anymore. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I think the same thing happens alternatively in these areas, is that these are areas that you can control your destiny on. You're not
Yes.
concerned about being one of 60, people, men or women, drafted on a draft night, right? Out of
Yes.
thousands and
Exactly.
thousands of people, right?
Yes.
And when I talk about also getting to the college years, is whether you decide to go to college or not.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like I say, sometimes it's largely based on one, preparation, but then two, what if you have a better sense of what you want to do, and if college is maybe not that best fit, maybe there's another route to go
Yes.
to continue to develop the skill set and build the network that will allow you to whether enter the job market and or start your own business. I think that's going to help generations as well, because now you can avoid picking up student loan debt on something that maybe doesn't lead to the type of life that you want, and doesn't allow the personal economics for yourself to really manifest. And so I'd
Yes.
love to get your thoughts on that, because I think that's a tremendous point. As your platform continues to develop, as you and Jeff continue to develop what you're doing, I
Yes.
think the impact that it could be is that
Yes.
people have an understanding. It kind of reminds me of like some of the older generations had, where they watched things like Star Trek, right, and were inspired to say, I want to get into technology from that.
Mm-hmm.
Right, from
Yes.
seeing those,
Yes.
some of
Yes.
those old shows, or
Yes.
people that want to get into engineering or want to get into healthcare because they saw nurses and doctors, they had that exposure. And I
Yes.
think that we lost that at some point, and so now being able to bring that back. And then the overarching piece of all of this is that financial literacy, because your ability to read money is going to help you in whatever field that you go into, right?
Yes.
Because the byproduct of that is so many other skills. Because if you become and have a good relationship with money and the ability to read it, it's going to help you in your personal relationships, whether
Mm-hmm.
romantic or not, right?
Yes.
It's going to help in when you're on the job and you can see opportunity and you can see where the puzzle pieces fit. It's going to help
Mm-hmm.
you when you decide to start your business, and you're looking at whether it's business partners, or looking at whether I need to borrow money or bootstrap it or whatever it is, right?
Yes.
I think it just helps develop that mindset. So again, I loaded, kind of, piece there, but for sure. But I'd love to get your thoughts on that in terms of that
No,
transition towards college.
no, definitely. So the first part in regards to college and debt, right? Because that's one thing that we see is, honestly, that's an epidemic. college debt is one of the
Right.
real epidemics, right? And like you
Yeah,
said,
no
is,
doubt.
our children have kind of gotten lost in the
Yeah.
transition from primary school, secondary school, and then going into college, right? Many times they're going to college to please their parents. Sometimes they're just randomly picking a degree. They don't understand the output, right? This is just something. I'm going to get a degree, I'm going to get a certificate, and I'm going to get a job. The reality of
Right.
it is, that is not reality anymore. That used to be a couple of decades ago, but that's not
Right.
sufficient anymore. That's not sufficient anymore. And that's why a lot of college students are returning home with debt, with no job, and then they have to work in a field completely outside of what their degree in. So I think, like what
Yeah.
you're saying, introducing everything early. So financial literacy, by understanding that early, kids start to evaluate, what they need to actually, if they want to go to college, do they have what they're going to pay for it? I remember when I think I was about 11 or 12, my dad was like, look, I'm not paying for you to go to college. So you need to, if you want to go, you need to figure out how you're going to pay for it. So
There you
immediately I'm
go.
like, I don't want to have to. I'm like, first off, I was a little offended because I'm like, all of my friends, all of their parents are going to pay for their college. I know. I was like, I think
Right.
one friend is going to refinance their house to pay for their college, but he's like, look, we're not doing that. If you want to do that, then you're going to be responsible for it. So him giving me that mindset very early was a godsend, because I was like, okay, I do want to go to college, but now I need to figure out how to pay for it. So I ended up with high school with 2 full paid scholarships. So then I was actually being paid to go to school. And then, when I started going into my advanced degrees, it was like, okay, well, I need somebody to pay for this because I'm not paying for it. So then I get my employer to pay for it. So it's just a mindset. But then all of my degrees, I actually use them. So it's not like something that, I achieve, then it hangs on the wall and I don't really get to use what I learned. I was able to use that. So I think the first thing that we really need to teach our children is to be evaluating whether or not college actually makes sense for them. Yes. And then the second, if you're going to get a degree, make sure it's in something that you actually see a career path in, that you're interested in, and actually tell them, map it out. I want to see you map it out from you, once you get the degree, what maybe fields you'll be working in to build up. So by the time you graduate, or internships you might be involved in. So by the time that you graduate, you actually have a job that you can actually go into, rather than you just have a certificate, but then you're competing against individuals that have experience and a certificate. So I mean, that is the first thing. But you point out also, not everyone's built to go to college, and I think that this is a mindset that parents have to accept as well. Just because your child decides not to go to college does not mean that they're going to be a failure. That is something that has been honestly trained in us, right? To really build up that the debt system of college. Of course. Because I have
very profitable. Right.
Yes, it is. It is very profitable. And so, we have to kind of step back and say, okay, so if you don't want to go to college, what do you want to do? But honestly, you should be having that conversation with your kids very early, so you can start mapping that out, making goals, setting milestones. And, like you said, you may not have started early. You may have teenagers today, but you can still sit down and have those conversations. Even if you may not know, you can involve career counselors. You can find people that are actually in their fields, reach out to them and see, be a part of the process where you learn what advice they may give your child and how to grow in the field, what things to avoid, what recommendations. It's really just an engagement process that you can do with your child. Honestly, you can even encourage them to do it by themselves. I remember my father was telling me, he was like, we're thinking about refinancing our house. Go tell us, if we should refinance it and how many years we should do, what's the interest rate that we should be willing to agree to. I was 12, so I was like, this is some heavy stuff to kind of put on me. But, he really made me feel like I was part of the process. He taught me researching, critical thinking skills. And that's something I think that our schools aren't really teaching our children. So that way, that's why they're coming out of school and they can't decipher whether or not they should go to college or they actually should do something that they're actually interested in and monetize that. So I think that, you start introducing those skills to them early, which is what we're trying to encourage, and give parents the way of doing that if they don't know how to really make an impactful difference in the direction of your child's life. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things they kind of button that up, too, Ty, is that parents have to realize that you can do things that you enjoy, because what you love and what you enjoy, what's in your heart, what you think about all the time, what you would otherwise just be doing anyway, right?
Yes.
Those type of things, people, that's where people do extremely well. I think people struggle in their life and their career when they're either trying to please somebody else, right? So they're doing things to not even for their own edification. It's just to just to please someone else or keep someone else off their back, right? Whether it's a parent or something like that. And they do things they really don't care for. They just think, well, it's a means to an end, right?
Yes.
And now that, like you talked about, this is a pivotal time, because that transition to now you've got generations that are looking at life differently and being exposed to life differently, and seeing that, hey, if I enjoy video games, right? There's so many opportunities, because there's a lot that went into making this game. So if I love NBA 2K, right?
Yes.
And you get on social media and you see Ronnie 2K and you see these people that are doing all these things. Now the teams have these leagues. Somebody's putting all this stuff together. Someone's making a lot of money
Yes.
and doing
Yes.
extremely
Yes.
well with something that they
Yes.
really love. I mean,
Yes.
probably in you and I's generation, if we had told our parents, listen, I want to go and I want to work for, do something with Nintendo. I want to create a video game. They were, a video game. Nobody does that. It's just a bunch of kids sitting around, right? They've been all negative, right? Because
Yes.
in their mind, you need to go to school, you need to do that, so you can do that,
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
now, right, it's different. Right now, when a kid says they want to get into video games, there's graphic design, there's development, there's the whole
Yes.
blockchain piece of it, there's the whole
Yes.
NFT side of it, there's all the marketing and then the
Coding.
business side
Yes.
of it.
Yes.
There's the customer relations piece of the customer management side of it. There's the vendor piece. There's so many layers that go into how someone gets their hands and purchases, as an example, a Fortnite or
Yes.
a NBA 2K. So just using that as an example that as parents, as we can all encourage our children, with taking the things that they love doing,
Yes.
parents, again, put that iPad down. Well, find out what they're doing on the iPad. What do they enjoy on it?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then is there opportunity, because they're, again, we had this mindset in the past that only certain people, right? Only, these certain people from these, areas and things like, they're the only people that can make this type of stuff. We can only be the
Yes.
consumer, right?
Yes.
That was our mindset.
Yes.
We can
Yes.
always, our role is just to go in the store and buy it if we,
Exactly.
if we wanted to, and
Exactly.
we have to get past that. You're right.
Yes.
And so that's where I think this is really dope and really challenges all of us from a critical thinking standpoint and how
Yes.
we work with our children and encourage and nurture what they enjoy versus trying to fit them into a box that we think works or what we think is going to get so and so out in the community
Yes.
to pat us
Yes.
on the back and tell us how
Yes.
good of a parent we were or how good of this or how
Yes.
good of that. So
Yes.
that vanity metrics within it, I think, is something
Yes.
that is starting to subside.
Yeah, no, I think you make some really good points there, and I think that that box, our kids end up being adults that are not happy, right? You have a lot of people that aren't happy with what they do, and yes, they make money, but it's a means to an end. But you're right, it's a completely different fulfillment when you wake up with excitement about what you're going to do, right? Even with
Yes.
SmartE Boxes, I'll use SmartE Boxes as an example. Even if I didn't sell one board game, I would still be excited every day to wake up knowing that at some point someone is going to see the impact that I'm trying to make, the difference that it will make in families and children's mindset in regards to money, right? Their
Yes.
ability to problem solve, critically think, and want to grow. So that's my driver, and I'm passionate about it. And like you're saying, even with video games, I have a nephew. If he can, he will play video games for 12 or 14 hours on a Saturday. And
Sure.
we're like, look, I understand you're a professional. At that point, you dedicate a lot of your time. You are an expert at gaming. And you're right. When we were younger, we looked down upon gaming. I'm not honestly into gaming, but I wish I was, because this is a field that's getting ready to explode. So put your child in front of individuals that are already in that industry. We're actually going to bring in an expert that goes into gaming. We're going to actually have an activity and then, session courses for kids to actually see how they can innovate on the blockchain and in gaming, where they, like you said, they may have been in a mindset where they just receive it, rather than this is something that they can actually create with people that they know and actually create for other kids and other people to enjoy. So you make really good points of taking something that your children likes and honestly figuring out how to grow and develop it and monetize it.
Yeah, absolutely, Ty. And so as we start to wrap up, because I've kept you way longer than I intended to, but that's only because this has just been just such a really just tremendous conversation. And I believe that people are getting, not just tremendous value from it, but I think they're learning a ton, from it as well. And so as we kind of wrap up, Ty, again, you dropped so many gems. It's almost like why even bother asking you this question? But I'm going to ask it anyway.
Yes.
What are one or two things that have worked for you all, worked for you, worked for Jeff, worked as you guys have built this business that you think will help others? Because listen, just from a practical standpoint, there are people that listen to this podcast that are going through all kinds of different things, right? Personal and
Yes.
professional
Yes.
joys, right? And personal and professional tribulations
Yes.
as we go through this pandemic. So, what are one or two things that have really worked for you that you think will help others? That when they get done listening to this podcast and they like, I love Ty, I love Jeff, I love the morning the boxes, Ron, you're tremendous. After they get done with the high, right, and they have to go back into life.
Yes.
What are one or two things that they can take with them that help them be just a little bit better?
The first thing I would say is how you view your family, right? Do you see your family as, just, we love each other and we coexist and, we take care of each other. I would say change the mindset of how you see your family as just a unit, but as a business, right? How you can really function as a corporation, as an LLC, as an entity, and operating your business. Because to be honest with you, that's how the rich look at their families. They see them as a sub business, right? They teach how am I teaching my children for business? How am I preparing them for business? Even if I don't
what
know.
product am I producing, right? For my children
Exactly. Because we are, like I said, we are our children's first teacher, right? So what can I do to encourage this mindset? What am I good at, right? What am I good at? I mean, that's part of the exploration process. What do I like? What can I monetize? And let your kids see that journey. What problem do I see out in the world? And how can I make a difference, right? It's not only about, I think it's about two things, right? Creating a mindset that your family is a business, but impact. How can I impact the world? Because it's our God-given gift to make a difference, to change the world. And what is that? What has God enabled me to do to impact people, right? And I would say that those are the two things that, we are busy and honestly that's designed on purpose, right? To keep us distracted, to keep us off of our purpose. But we all have purpose. We have all purpose to grow, to serve our mission under God, and to build our children. So I would leave families with that: growth, business, and impact.
And see, that's rich just enough right there. We could come back and we just need to stop this and just do episode 265 and just pick up from right there.
No, I do appreciate it, Ron. This has been very enjoyable. And, I really do thank you for taking the time and really serving our community and helping us spread this message as well, because, we have it in us to really make a difference. And sometimes people say, I'm not sure if you're optimistic or pessimistic about what's going on right now, but, in the midst of chaos, we can really make so much difference. And, the platform that you have really puts families in a position to really pivot their families in a different direction.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for that, Ty, and certainly to yourself. This has been a tremendous conversation. It's been, very insightful, very educational, and very, hard hitting. And I think that, we can all go back and challenge ourselves to be, again, just a little bit better. And you've helped us do that today. So make sure, again, click the links in the bio. Give us the links one more time, Ty, so that everybody can have that.
Yeah, so I want to first say, please follow us. We're on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram, we're at SmartE _Boxes. On Facebook, we're at SmartE Boxes. And then our website is www.smarteboxes.com. And you can grab the Get Paid board game at www.getpaidboardgame.com.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much for that, Ty. And again, give my best to Jeff and to the family. And tell Jeff he doesn't get out that easy, right? Because because you did a tremendous job doesn't mean he gets out that easy. He's got to come back and join you as well. on a subsequent episode, definitely
Yeah,
for sure. But
definitely. Yes.
you're just tremendous for giving us this amount of time to have this conversation and really learn more about your business and learn more about how you all are serving the community by helping to edify youth.
Yes.
Ongoing. So thank you so much. Definitely best wishes and blessings to you and the family. Look to remain connected, and
Yes.
we need to hear the podcast, right? So that's the next thing that
Yes.
you and Jeff need to incorporate with
Yes.
this. I think it'd be really dope for you all to engage us, from that podcast piece and just bring us to even more tremendous content. So, Todd, thank you so much, and definitely enjoy
Yes.
the
Thank
rest
you
of your
so
day.
much. Thank you. You too.
Excellent. Ty Dickerson joins us here on episode number 264, MYB Community of the Minding Your Business podcast. That was dope, wasn't it? Y'all
Yes.
can admit it. Y'all can admit it. Y'all don't have to, yeah, don't be sitting there with your mouth scrubbed up. That was dope. Y'all enjoyed that, right? Yeah, and certainly you. Hopefully you did as much as I did. So definitely make sure to connect with Jeff and Ty, and make sure that you go and support the business. That's one of the biggest things is support the business. Send them a message and let them know that you heard Ty right here on the Minding Your Business podcast. Do that as well. And just provide feedback in that manner. We're all a little bit better when we can operate together. That's for sure. All right, we're going to get out of here. We want everybody to get back to your day. Say that correctly. We want you to get back to your day with what you're doing in positivity. There's three things that unite us all, right? No matter where you're from, no matter what side of the tracks you come from. There are three things that unite us. We all want to be a little bit better for ourselves, a little bit better for our families, and a little bit better for our communities. And if we can remember those three things with everybody that we come in contact with, whether it's virtually or in person, if we remember that, because there's so many things that divide us, right? We use color, we use where we're from, we use all kinds of different things to Sunday that often get used to divide us. But those are three things that we all are in pursuit of. And so keep that in mind with everybody that you come across. And if we all do that, guess what? We'll all make this place just a little bit better together. And so thank y'all so much. Continue to connect with me, champronbrooks.com. You can email me, ron@themybpodcast.com. Make sure you do that. I love to hear from you all. Connect with me on social media as you already do. And go make it a great rest of your day. And we'll catch you here on the next episode of the Minding Your Business podcast. Before I go, let's make sure also I want to shout out Liv Amargro. She's on my social media. You guys have heard from her. Her and I got a chance to cut up way back on episode number 100. If you want to go and hear her, she joined me. And we had a chance to cut up, to say the least, on episode 100. But she has been, again, a tremendous support of myself and this podcast. So I'd be remiss if I didn't allow an opportunity for her to be mentioned here on this episode, that she was able to connect me with Ty and with Jeff.
Yes, she's
and so
amazing.
It's tremendous. Yes. Absolutely, she is. And O Plus Media Group LLC is where you can check her out. Email her, olivia.amagro, ALMAGRO @gmail.com. Make sure you connect with her for all of your media needs. She can definitely help you get yourself, your personal brand, or your business connected with the right people. And so she's just a wealth of knowledge. So make sure you connect with her as well. That's O Plus Media Group LLC with Olivia Magro. Getting out of here, folks. Champ Ron, the Minding Your Business podcast. Go be great.